Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to this forum. And we thank Ben and the members of the Outreach Committee for making a presentation to the parish about the spirituality around social justice. And with that, I will turn it over to Ben. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. My name is Ben Schumann. I'm the chair of the Outreach Committee here at Christ Episcopal Church. I joined Christ Church in 2014, which is the same year that I joined the Outreach Committee. In 2016, I began to serve as chair of the committee. But Outreach is not just a committee here at Christ Episcopal Church. It's a passion that many people share to help other people who are in need. This passion comes from many places, and it's actually different for each of us. For many of us, it was an experience earlier in our lives, and which led to values that we learned as children. But what I think draws us together is that knowing that by participating in these activities, we're helping people who are in need. You don't actually have to be on the committee in order to participate in outreach at Christ Church. Outreach activities happen across the church and in multiple committees. But the Outreach Committee does serve as a focal point for these outreach activities. The committee also manages church funds intended to be donated to various charities and organizations that perform outreach activities that we support. The Outreach Committee also organizes outreach activities intended for people of all ages. In 2016, the Outreach Committee engaged in strategic planning facilitated by Sam Ireland to develop a mission statement, which I'm going to read now. The Outreach Committee serves as tangible evidence of God's love by providing joyful opportunities to give of our time, talent, and treasure. We strive to make a difference in the lives of people in need, respecting their dignity, promoting justice and common human needs, such as food, clothing, housing, and medical care. As stewards of the financial resources entrusted to us, we will join with selected established local, national, and international agencies in order to satisfy short-term needs and effect long-term changes. We also have three committee goals, which were developed during our strategic planning. Our first is a focus on common human needs. The second is a focus on stewardship. And the third is a focus on partnership. In 2018, just as an example, we provided funding to a number of different community and national and international organizations, including the following: Community Reach of Montgomery County, the Bishop Walker School, the Diocesan Hunger Fund, the English Conversation Club, Loaves and Fishes, Samaritan Ministry of Greater Washington, Rise Against Hunger, MANA, the Diocesan Immigrant Relief Fund, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, Thrive DC, and Interfaith Works. As for me personally, I developed a passion for helping others early in life. When I was a baby, my family became homeless after a very poorly planned relocation. We ended up living in a park and then later in abandoned buildings with strangers. I don't remember this time because I was too young, but it was always an important part of my childhood knowing that this had happened to my family. And it's been close in my mind all through my life. Although we were only homeless for about 4 months, we remained poor through most of my childhood. Over time, I developed the knowledge that God helped me to survive hard times, not because I am special, but because God loves me. I do try to stay focused on God's presence and to remember to share that love with others. One verse from the Bible that's important to me and reminds me of my feelings about outreach is James chapter 2, verse 5, which says, "Listen, my dear brothers and sisters, has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith and to inherit the kingdom he promised those who love him?" So next, I'm going to introduce others from the Outreach Committee to share their feelings about why they're drawn to activities in the Outreach Committee or elsewhere in the church that are outreach in nature. First, I'd like to introduce Mary Belknap.
Hello, I'm Mary Belknap, and my family and I have been members of Christ Church since 1986. And my experience with outreach was way back in my first church when I was a child in Syracuse, New York, and the church was very deeply involved in outreach committee, outreach activities. It was quite involved in the civil rights movement, which in the 1950s was fairly unusual. We were the first integrated church in our diocese, and our priest, Father Welch, who actually married my husband and I, who stayed with the church for many, many years, felt strongly that outreach was going beyond the walls. Outreach was not just helping people, but outreach was going without and bringing it within. So when we came here in 1986, I didn't first become involved in outreach. Actually, it was my husband. He was the head of the outreach committee through his involvement with vestry, and I did other things. But in 2003, I had an amazing experience. I had been running a program for English as a second language, that's my profession, at Richard Montgomery School. It was for the parents. And suddenly, because of how things work, we lost our space at the school. And I was very distressed because these were, we had a group of about 40 parents who made a regular trip every Saturday to learn English. And I didn't know what to do. So I happened to talk to Bill Thompson, and Bill said, "Well, why don't you bring it here to Christ Church?" And I thought, wow, I hadn't even thought of that, but that worked out beautifully. It was Saturday morning, every Saturday morning for several years we had it here. And then gradually the students asked to have it at night, and we changed it to Monday night. And I've had a wonderful experience as we now call it the English Conversation Club. And Emily joined us in 2009, and now she is actually running the program. We've did it for 15 years and had a marvelous experience. But I've also had other kind of experiences here with outreach. One of the things that outreach has given me is some leadership opportunities. I was involved in one of the first couple of years when we furnished apartments for homeless families in Washington, D.C. It was part of the transitional housing project. And every 2 years we'd be called upon to furnished apartments, and the church members were amazing. They signed up on the Target website for the products that they needed to furnish these apartments. We had to furnish it from soup to nuts. All the furniture, all the utensils, all the bedding, everything else, and we gathered it together in one day and pulled it all down and put it up, and it was such a fun. It was that opportunity to help in that outreach way was fun. Another activity I did with outreach was to start with the original, what is now called Rise Against Hunger. Again, it was kind of an opportunity for me to show some outreach opportunities. And that's what outreach has meant to me, opportunities to do something beyond the walls. I go back to my original priest who said that his reason for doing the outreach, to reaching out in civil rights, was based on his interpretation of the Samaritan story. And in his light, the Samaritan story is not just about giving, but having a relationship between the receiver and the giver, creating a change in the lives of both. And that's what I think outreach is to me, the ability to change lives. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Cathy Purcell.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cathy Purcell. I joined Outreach because I wanted to get more involved with the church. I would go in the morning, Sunday mornings, run in and then run out, and I decided I need to get involved. So I went to the coffee hour where they had different stations of different committees you could join. So I volunteered also for the help out at the bargain box, but I thought, well, I'll join Outreach because you're helping other people and you're helping your society, but you're also, you feel good inside when you know you're helping people. And it doesn't have to be your money, but your time that's important. And a couple of things that we've been involved in is the wider circle, where we hope to get more involved. Mary got us involved in that, and where it's just a gigantic warehouse where people who are first setting up their homes can pick out furniture and china. And the man said, who runs the program, said that when a piece of furniture item comes in the warehouse, within 48 hours it has left the store because someone needed it. And he also said, can you imagine how a child feels when you tell them they can go in a room full of toys and pick up all the toys they want? So, and then I've helped with Rise Against Hunger, and we prepared over 10,000 meals this year, and these meals will go anywhere in the country. And also, I've helped a little bit with the Interfaith Women's Shelter, the new shelter, and in Rockville. And bless their hearts, they just started this new shelter, just opened, and the sewage system failed. So we donated some money to help them. They lost all their clothes, they lost their mattresses, everything. And also, I got a tour of the Caseman Clinic, which was wonderful. People can go there for psychiatric treatment or to see the doctor. And that's about all. And it just, it makes you feel good inside. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cathy. Next we have Shana Bramble.
Good morning. How's everyone? Very good. My name is Shana Bramble, and I began attending Christ Church probably around 2010, so I'm coming up on my 10 years. Wow, time goes very fast. I've always been involved in ministry in some way. I came from St. John's Episcopal Church in Mount Rainier, and when I was there, I was involved in stewardship, but I was also involved in outreach there. But on the level where our church was responsible for going there specific Sundays and taking the meals so that we can serve the homeless. But what was really important about that experience for me was that you got to actually sit with them. There were homeless men that came in, you sat and you ate and you spoke. And you got to really see the experiences and understand what they were going through and what got them there. So I think for me that's something that's always been very, very important to me. Now, I believe that I joined this outreach committee maybe around 2012. It was before Benjamin started. And there were so many different things that we were doing and different organizations we were supporting. But the one that I was most interested in was Samaritan ministry. For some reason, the homeless situation has always been close to my heart. I've never been homeless. And I've never gone hungry in my life. But growing up in the Caribbean, there were times when there was a shortage of food. Food was scarce. And so I know what that feels like, for your family to try to figure out how to feed everybody in an extended family. So that's something that's always been really important to me. But when I came here and I started working with Samaritan Ministry, I actually became one of the liaisons. Ben was the other liaisons. And we were able to attend meetings in the district in different areas to talk about how they were using the funds that they were receiving. Now, I actually got a chance to attend the Next Step breakfast. I believe it was Mary Belknap was there as well. And that was also eye-opening because it allowed me again to see the recipients of this program. There was a gentleman there who had just, gotten his first job and house, and it was an exciting time. But something so simple allows someone to have dignity. And I think that's what's really important. Just allowing others to be able to have certain things that just makes them human. So that's always been important to me. Now I'm going to mention something that happened outside of the church environment. A few years ago, I was working at a charter school in Washington, D.C. And I was the director of admissions and marketing. And so being the director of admissions, I sometimes dealt with the students that had to register. And I recall there was a young lady who wasn't registered. And I kept wondering, why hasn't her mother registered her? So finally, I asked to see the student and began speaking with her. And I spoke to her. And as we got into the conversation, she stopped me and she said, "Miss Bramble, do you have anything to eat?" And that just broke my heart. That just broke my heart. So we stopped the conversation, and I went down to the kitchen, and I spoke to the head of the kitchen. And he said, "Miss Bramble, you would be surprised how many kids come to this school just to eat." I'm getting emotional thinking about this because we are so fortunate. We are so fortunate. I try to give gratitude every single day for the little things that I have. I wake up in a warm bed. I have food to eat. I have shelter. But for others, this is something that they have to scrape and figure out and find and work on every single day. In the Bible, when God was going through the towns and the villages and teaching in the synagogues, I believe this is in Mark, he said, "The work is plentiful, but the laborers are few." There are few people in the outreach committee, but we do mighty work. We don't just help people in just this immediate area. We try to go out as much as we can. And that's because the need is everywhere. Imagine if that were you, or your family member, someone you know. It continues to be something that I'm very close to. When I look at the word outreach, and I break it off, and I flip it around, it says reach out. But I think of it differently. I think of it as reaching in. I have to reach within myself. And as a part of a collective group, we reach in and we see what matters and we see how we can help. It's about dignity for others. The work is plenty, but the laborers are few. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Carell. I've been a member of this church for about 14 years, thereabouts. And my feeling on a church is that our purpose is to glorify and worship God, to encourage each other, and then to go out and help God's people wherever. My rationale for this is from Matthew 25, where Jesus is giving the parable of the king, and he says, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. And then the righteous going, huh? When did we ever see you like this, Lord? And he goes, truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. That's one reason I felt when I joined this church, I could not just sit in the pew. I was able-bodied and a lot younger then, and I was looking for something to do. I've taught Sunday school for years, didn't really like it and wasn't very good at it. I can't sing, but outreach seemed, because of that, I believe that is what we should be doing. That's what I joined. There's another verse from the Gospel of John, where Jesus is talking to Simon Peter after the resurrection. Do you love me? And Peter's getting a little bunkered out because, this is the third time. He keeps asking him this. And so he says, you know that I love you. And Jesus says, well, then feed my sheep. That's one reason I got involved with the Loaves and Fishes meal program at St. Stephen's, which many people in this church have been doing. Bill's been doing it, 25 years? More or less. 35, pardon me. And also with the Rise Against Hunger, which I like because it does involve all ages. One of the other things I got involved with was because, again, I wanted to not just sit in the pew. This isn't actually from a very nice way that I came at it, though. For years, I have gotten angry when I hear people say, why can't these people who come here speak English? There's not, unfortunately, a magic wand that will let you speak another language. I wish there were. It would make my life in Spanish easier. But I saw in the wrapper that Belknap was looking for someone else to help with the English conversation class. And I thought, yeah, I can speak English. They'll get another accent. Good for them. So I started doing that. And again, there's several biblical verses for that. If a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and you shall love him as thyself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt, and I am the Lord your God. On a personal note, because I got involved with that class, and it gave me, I think I've helped some people. I know I have made some very good friends. I have learned some wonderful stories, some of which have broken my heart. We've had students who were deported after 10 years here. But then I saw again that the Literacy Council needed tutors. I thought, I've been teaching ESOL. The Spirit led me to that. So I'm now helping with the Literacy Council and trying to get someone her citizenship. For me, outreach is really a main part of what the church does, what the church should be, what we should do, for the glory of God and for the love of our brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Next we have Michelle Craig.
Hi, I'm Michelle Craig. I am not only a member of the Outreach Committee, I happen to sit on the staff of Christ Church for the past 25 and a half years. the reason I put the focus on being in the outreach committee and whether I'm an active member or a side member, it's always been of interest to me. I grew up in a family that had privilege, and because of that, we were always told that we needed to learn from a young age, which meant we were voluntold at the age of 2 that we would be doing something. It could be collecting eggs and giving them out. It could be emptying oranges and handing bags to neighbors or people driving by on the street. But my parents always believed that we were given in order to be able to give. And so that's how my husband and I both grew up. We came together, we came to Maryland, we were able to say, this is great, but I came from a small farm country, and to be honest, when my parents gave, it was to our neighbors and to people that lived in our city. They wrote a lot of checks, and I saw that happening as a child. I saw buildings and things and knew what was happening in our world, but when I moved here, we didn't know anyone. I knew my husband and his 6 sisters and my 1 daughter, and that was really hard for me. And we pulled into a church that was St. Mary Magdalene. It's located in Wheaton, very large church with an ethnically diverse community, something I had never been a part of coming from a small country town in California. So for my husband and I, it was not only just coming to a new world, it was really coming to a new world for us. And we ended up getting involved in a church community that looked at outreach as just who they were. It wasn't called outreach, it was just what they did. They helped other people, and it motivated us. And the first time we went to a shelter, I remember I was really young at that point, and we walked in, and I sat at the front desk because there was no way I was going to go with a whole group of people that were very different than I was. And I sat at the front desk, and a young gentleman came up to me, and his first words were, "Are you okay?" Now, I'm there to help serve, and this person is asking me if I was okay. And I said, I think so, but I'm really scared. And I still remember feeling that way. We didn't take our daughter. I mean, my husband and I were, people had told us really scary stories about what goes involved in helping those people. Take your jewelry off. Don't wear anything nice. Just make sure that you just don't look at them. I was like, okay. So I did that. And we walked in, and as this man asked me if I was okay, I looked at him and said, I think I should be asking you that. Are you okay? Is there something I can do for you? And he said, yeah. Can you remember that I'm homeless? But ma'am, I'm not hopeless. And I'm not helpless. I just need someone to care. Well, we not only became good, fast friends, and he moved through a couple shelters that we started working at, but he actually had an influence to the point where he became part of our lives, and as time moved on, he ended up getting to the point where he came through the shelter system of Montgomery County, which is, we are so blessed in this county to have, that he ended up becoming one of the heads of the shelters. And so I got a chance to work with him a lot in my opportunities as I came to Christ Church and was part of a church that actually functioned as an outreach program instead of just a bunch of people giving, even though this church is that. And because of that, my husband and I became very involved in Interfaith Works. It used to be called community-based ministry. We've spent 25 years now with this program. It's incredible. And I just need to let you know that the first thing that I try and do in my position in this church is to go back with all of the youth, the children, and the families that I have the opportunity and the blessing to be able to minister to, and to teach them that part of people in need are not hopeless. They are you and I, but something else happened in their life, whether it be by choice or whether it just be by circumstance. But they are people. They are children of God. And really, when we ask them what we can do, the things they ask for are so little. And most of the time, it's just, can you smile at us? Can you say our name? Can you introduce yourself? And if we all remember that, then when we go and give the big outreach parts, these are people. These are us. It doesn't hurt, and it's great. The thing I love about Christ Church, and I know it's my time, but let me tell you, the blessing of Christ Church, and I've been to many churches, I sit on diocesan committees involving outreach. The thing that I share with all of you is the idea, though, that you don't have to be young, you don't have to be old, you don't have to be sick, you don't have to be wealthy. All you have to do is be caring, because there is something you can give to make someone else's gift a better day. Thank you.
So I wanted to point out that everyone is welcome at outreach committee meetings and in outreach committee activities across the church. People are welcome. The outreach committee meetings take place on the second Wednesday of each month in the parish house, which is beside the church. And the meetings start at 7:30 p.m. and end at 8:30. There will not be a February 2020 Outreach Committee meeting, and the March meeting will be on February 4th. The April meeting will be on April 1st. We're always looking for new people and new ideas. Thanks for joining us today.